In 1981, we started to seriously look at doing G.I. Joe as a toy soldier. The idea of shrinking him down in size to 3 3/4 inch. We picked 3 3/4 inch because at the time, a very successful boys brand, Star Wars, had come into the marketplace based off the hit movie. We looked at Star Wars and we said, you know, there's got to be another way of doing a 3 3/4 inch figure. And we went back and looked at G.I. Joe and we said, well, what worked for G.I. Joe? And what really worked for G.I. Joe, we believed, was posability. And we took that same idea and scaled it down to 3 3/4 inches. And where Star Wars figures maybe had 6 movable parts, we had 11.
We would have the benefit of being able to make equipment and all the things that were so essential to G.I. Joe in a smaller size and therefore being more affordable. You know, having these giant vehicles was one of the problems of trying to maintain a 12-inch figure.
There were 2 people in the marketing department, my boss, Bob Prupus, and myself. Bob was a driving force behind this concept. He knew how a retailer would buy this line. And one of the things he told us was, I want a line that's going to be collectible. I want it at various price points. And he said, I want it to be sold at retail, all of it, the entire first year line, for under $100. So that a kid could walk into a store throughout the year with his own spending money and buy a G.I. Joe figure. And then for Christmas, get the big wow. That really was the marketing plan.
We went to the company initially and to management, which was in that case really Stephen Hasselfeld, with a proposal that we develop a plan to try to bring back G.I. Joe. And we were thrown out, rebuffed, don't see how we can do it, trade won't want it, all the litany of reasons that everybody gives to say shouldn't do that.
We all looked at each other like, oh my gosh, 6 months of our lives were invested in this and he doesn't want to do it.
And we discussed the fact that despite the fact that we've been given this directive to not bother with this, that what could we do?
We said, come up with a concept that is going to excite Stephen, because if we can get him excited, then we have the green light for this project. If we can't get him excited, forget about it. He doesn't want anything to do with G.I. Joe again.
Joe and I went back to work and came back, I think, about a month later for one of our product line reviews with an extra presentation, a non-agenda presentation to talk about G.I. Joe. It began with a discussion that basically said philosophically, Star Wars has the movie and they have reached X millions of kids and all that. And he says, well, we can't have the movie, but we can have the book.
And he held up a book, and the cover of which was a mock-up, really, of what eventually became the cover of the first G.I. Joe comic book. And he said, Stephen, we've got a concept here that's never been done before. We are going to advertise a book to kids about G.I. Joe. But it's not just any book. It's a comic book. He said comic books have never been on television before. And we can do things in animation to bring the comic book to life that we can't do with a toy commercial.
While that raised some interest, it wasn't until Joe Bacall got up and presented what G.I. Joe A Real American Hero was all about and played the music.
G.I. Joe is fighting Cobra, the enemy, on land and sea and air. G.I. Joe, Joe's chasing Cobra in a desperate race, soaring and diving in a great sky chase. A real American hero.
What's in store for G.I. Joe? Find out in Marvel Comics.
Stephen was up leaning against the back wall. He wiped a tear from his eye and he said, guys, you did it.
Really, Stephen was so excited that he got in his car and he drove out to the cemetery where Merrill was resting, and as he told his dad that we're going to be able to bring back G.I. Joe, and he'd be really proud of it and really excited about it. So it was, as we're all a close family and a close group, it was really a touching moment for all of us.
All war comics at the time had teams of guys. Sergeant Rock had his Easy Company, Nick Fury had his Howling Commandos, we had G.I. Joe. And Instead of it being one individual guy or character, it was the code name for a team of guys.
We picked up on the adventure theme and extended it with villains and heroes and characters, and really fleshed it out into a whole new line, a whole new life for G.I. Joe.
Over the years that G.I. Joe, the 3 3/4 inch line, was in existence, we sold close to 500 million figures. That's a small army. I mean, that's a large army. I shouldn't say a small army. That's a giant army. That's like probably every combined army in the world is what that adds up to. But that's about what we sold in terms of that. And that's how successful it was. And that was just the United States and Canada. That had nothing to do with what was sold worldwide, because G.I. Joe was and still is a worldwide concept. So yeah, if that, I think, can put it into some perspective how big and overwhelming it was. As the line went on for the next 12 to 14 years, we started immortalizing people we knew in plastic. And if you were on our good side, the marketing and R&D good side, we'd find a way to get you in the G.I. Joe line. So of all the personalities that are in that line, I would say about 80 to 85%, the faces are sculpted based on some real person who we came into contact with at Hasbro. And then we even incorporated people's names on the bio cards. So if you didn't get your face pictured, you had your name on the back of the file card. It was kind of an in-joke that we had at Hasbro at the time that I think most people don't know about.
From Hasbro.